G'day folks, and welcome to this moment from Last Blitzkrieg. I want to just pause here and recall what's going on because it's a fascinating moment in the game that really kind of, for me, cuts at what I love about this game. It's what I love about gaming. It's what I love about solo gaming. And there is so much going on here that I sort of wanted to capture everything and try and run through all my thoughts here. I'm not actually going to do any movements here. I just want to explain to you the type of thinking that goes into an activation in the Last Blitzkrieg. The kind of thinking that really, for me, makes this such a fascinating game and explains why I love it so much. So I'm towards the end of the 17th of December. There are only a few German activations to go. You can see them on this list. You can see most of these are up in the north, the 12th SS, the 1st SS, the 150th Panzer and so forth. But in the centre of the 5th Panzer Army area of activations, I still have left to activate the 560th Volksgrenadier Division and the 2nd Panzer Division. This is pretty much all that I've got left here. Now the Americans are entirely out of activations. They have no headquarters left to activate, so they won't get a response on this day. They have to wait until the next turn, which means that the 560th and the 2nd are free to move and attack and break open these US defences without risk of a response until the 18th of December. Now, the first question I have to ask is, what am I trying to do here? What's the broader view of this situation? What would I like 560th and the 2nd Panzer to actually do? On the 17th, it's basically drive west. I could, just to show you some hypotheticals, this primary road, this white primary road here, weaves quite freely, or free of allied units, all the way up to Sonville. So there's a potential, given the nice movement costs along this road, to go up to Sonville and get an attack on the city and key objective, maybe within one of these activations, mainly. That's one possibility. I could also follow through Weiswurm Park, clear out the 112th 28th Division HQ, and then maybe drive towards Bovigny up here, towards Ville-Sam, another objective up here in the north, but then of course you've got these 7th Army units on the road. And the problem with these northern options is I have the 116th Panzer on this main road. If I start driving north, even if I move towards Sonville, it's going to use this road. There'll be mixed formations, coordination issues for both. Both the 116th and the moving formation will suffer coordination, and this will negatively affect their subsequent snafu or formation activation rolls by at least a -1, maybe -2 modifier. When I don't kind of want that to happen, it's two important formations that I'm potentially risking for that northern move. So I'll rule out both of those northern options. Of course, I could drive straight on Clervaux. I've got the 2nd Panzer Division here. They're right next to Clervaux. There's only 4 steps left on this engineer battalion. They're isolated, they're by themselves. But Clervaux is a city surrounded by a stream, which is a hex side terrain, which adds another modifier. It's not going to be easy, but it's an option. And if I clear out Clervaux, it clears this primary road straight through here, at least until this unit where they exert a zone control, a foot unit zone control, I should note, onto this primary road. But that'd be great to get that objective. I've got a problem here in the north, slightly here around Trois-Vierges, because CCR 9th Armoured is holding that town and blocking this sort of important road nexus around this area. We've got a couple of tracks leading towards Asselborn. They're blocking that primary road, they're blocking the railroad, and they're blocking this road crossroads here with their AV dual unit. It creates a bit of a sort of movement roadblock, in effect, a series of roadblocks around this whole region. So that might be an option for the Germans. There is, of course, the possibility that I could come around here and maybe bypass them by moving across this train, get onto the sort of the railroads at Limel, and then drive south through here. I could perhaps try to disengage these units, try and force a retreat via an engagement, perhaps. With second panzer in this area, if I can drive these units off this road, I could move and kind of zigzag these units through here. So I can move second panzer along these tracks down here and then out west, and maybe try and clear out this unit in that area. Artillery should be there. Alternatively, I could drive to the south and just send second panzer back along these tracks down Skyline Drive, and then along these tracks. I'll note, however, that the tracked units in red don't move particularly fast along tracks. It's basically one movement point per hex, so there'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, just along this tracked segment. They don't want to do that, ideally, keeping in mind that's most of their movement points. So ideally they kind of want to clear some roads. I've also got further north here, I pointed this out, the 112th Regiment of the 28th Division blocking this road, and I've been thinking that 560th Volksgrenadier could move up into, I could move up, say, if they get a good formation activation, I could move some of the Pioneers or 1st Battalion of the 1128th Regiment up into this hex. From here, they could potentially launch a destructive barrage as part of their assault into this unit. Now they're in a town, so they could get up to 3, again, if they get a full snafu, they can get up to 5 artillery points attached to the division. They could get 3 destructive barrage rolls against this hex, needing a 4 or more to hit. And they need 2 successes because there are 2 step losses left on those 3 rolls, out of those 3 rolls, to destroy this battalion. That would then clear this road for my AV units. I would have to disengage the support, the limited support here of the 100 and what have I got here, 3rd Battalion, and that would let my armour sort of move up this way. But again, how far up do they want to go? If I get onto this road, it sort of splits in two. I've got 116th blocking, or at least occupying, both the northern and the southern routes from this crossroad. 116th are all over this area. So doing that would still kind of force me to mix. If I'm trying to get the 2nd Panzer Division towards Bastogne, and I don't know if I can make it to Bastogne, but towards Bastogne at least, I think they, without mixing coordination, whilst keeping them fresh and not mixed, I think they either need to look at this route here or through Clairvaux. Now, Clairvaux is... Okay, so what I've done here is they're no longer in a prepared defence, so all I would need is a retreat result on these engineers. Actually, they would make a stubborn stand, so I'd actually need to inflict 4 step losses on that unit to wipe them out. Because they're in a city, they are just going to take step losses instead of retreating. It's determined defence terrain. They're not going to want to leave there, so that's going to be very tough. It's a bit of a grind. It may be more prudent to leave that for the 26th Volksgrenadier to attack and grind next turn. Maybe I could get an attack on it with some of these infantry units, but not expecting to clear it out. And maybe I want to shift my attention primarily to clearing out this little area here. Now it's still going to cost me some movement points. So you got this track, this road here. It's going to cost me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So a detour of 7 to go around Clairvaux, but then I'm back onto a primary road. I would then need to attack this unit because they do have this AV support here, giving them an AV zone of control. So I need to perhaps disengage that support, which would drop the support from that unit, and then enable me to continue using that primary road, which could get me a decent distance. So I've looked at this unit here with 16 movement points. They can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 11, 12. They're 12 to here, and they've got 4 movement points left. I believe they could make it all the way to the outskirts of Bastogne if all those other plans go well. Those other plans, as I said, are disengaging, getting rid of these units from this area, getting rid of that dual unit, getting rid of... I wouldn't even need to get rid of the infantry. Because they, with that unit out of the way, there's no support in this formation, and they won't exert an AV zone of control. So it's getting rid of that top unit, and then disengaging the support from this unit. So getting rid of that, disengaging the support there, should enable that battalion to charge on through, or even, you know, these guys, the Gutmann Kampfgruppe, or the von Baum Kampfgruppe. They also have 16 movement points. I also have, again, I have some options. So if the first attack doesn't succeed, I can bring up some more units for a second attack. I could attempt to attack first with the infantry to clear them out. These elements, pioneers, bicycle infantry and the pioneers here could have a go first. And if they fail, I could perhaps bring up some of my armour to have a go. Again, I've got sort of 2 battalions, 2 Kampfgruppes back here that could make that attempt. So what's sort of hindering my ability to do this? Well, it's a snafu roll. The 2nd Panzer Division has coordination. The 560th has ghost trains. They've moved, and they're using tracks. Perhaps if the 560th activates first, perhaps they could have an attempt to clear this hex. They could move 1, 2, 3, 4 and have a go, which then frees up even more of the 2nd Panzer Division. As I said, these guys won't be able to move far. You've only got 3 battalions across the river. They've only got to move in a 4. So on full activation, this infantry would go 1, 2, 3 and a half. 1, 2, 3, yep, they'd be attacking almost by themselves. 1, yeah. So it'd be just a 1 unit attack against a dual unit, which is going to be tough. So yeah, again, this highlights sort of the many different options available. Looking further to the south, as I said, there's a lot of expensive, costly trails throughout this whole area. So if 2nd Panzer Division opts to move to the south, they're going to slow down. This is what has happened to Panzerlehr. So they've moved this way, and they're grinding along these trails very slowly. 1 movement point per hex. They're making it, just very, very slowly. Earlier, I was thinking about just getting these guys off the road, opening up that primary road to the north. But it doesn't... It's certainly a long-term goal, but doesn't help me sort of immediately. So you kind of... I'm tossing up between the long-term goal of clearing these primary roads. If I clear this primary road here, I can get 2nd Panzer along this road, and then they can attack Trois Vierges. But I know the 101st Airborne is going to be driving into Bastogne and occupying these defensive positions, and I want to get kind of, if it's possible, I'd love to be able to get behind, or at least kind of undermine their ability to defend key terrain, as sort of the 26 Volkskrieger has already partly done. They've denied the Airborne the opportunity to defend around Margaret and Besançon. And if I can get 2nd Panzer even closer, if they can get an attack on Bastogne, you never know what could happen. Actually, I don't think they could attack Bastogne, but maybe they'll get a 2nd activation. So, if I have a look, they get a 2nd activation on a 4 or more. So there's a 50% chance of that happening, assuming assuming they get a decent first roll anyway. So look, as I said, folks, still mulling over what to do, but yeah, I love these moments where you're looking at road networks, you're looking at neighbouring formations, you're looking at the potential for these two formations, thinking about how to chain them together, thinking about their movement potential, thinking about their assault capabilities. On this side they have an assault capability, on this side they're unprepared, lower activation rating, they're more vulnerable, but they can move further. Thinking about what these armoured units can actually do. These are hard, big hitting units. There is just so much to dwell on. You could study this situation, just these two formations, for a very long time. And as I said, I've been just sort of thinking and mulling over options. Thinking, should I go for Clervaux? It needs to be cleared out eventually. Should I do it just now and then that clears the primary road and the problem is solved? Or I'm thinking, well, maybe I should just try to capture some V this turn, and that gets it out of the way, and then that problem's solved. But then I'm also thinking, well, I need to drive west as quickly as possible. And I think, we'll eventually capture Clervaux. We'll eventually capture some V, I hope. But if those, as I'd learnt from the Southern Campaign scenario, if the 101st gets set up around Bastogne, it is very difficult to dislodge them. It's a very slow grind to dislodge them from those defensive positions, and I would like, it's a gamble, and it's relies on a lot of other successes along the way, but if I can get the 2nd Panzer into into this area, it'll certainly scare the 101st. It'll scare the Allied player, and it'll limit their options. Like I said, if I can get some battalions, some heavy battalions in right here adjacent to Bastogne, they could start hitting it. And that's what I love. That's what I love about this game. I love thinking about those possibilities and making these plans and thinking about what formation to activate first, and what I'm going to do with this first formation, and how I'm going to clear, use these activities to clear the roads, to facilitate the subsequent movement of other units. It's a wonderful sort of series of planning activities that comes before your actual activation. There's a different way you could approach it. You could just say, whatever, roll the dice, I'll activate the 560th, and what can I do? You can move very quickly through this if you're that way inclined. Or, as I'm doing right here, you can take your time, study the situation, think about the many, many, many possibilities here. If you're mathematically inclined, you could get out your calculator and figure out the odds of a destructive barrage here versus just adding the modifier and getting a regular attack and forcing their retreat, and the long-term implications of that. If they retreat, they're coming back to their headquarters. If they're destroyed, they're gone for good, pretty much. Is it more of a risk to throw in the destructive barrages to try and wipe them out versus trying to force their retreat through combat? You could really go into a lot of detail and work that out if you wanted to. So look, folks, as I said, just wanted to capture this moment because I think it's really fascinating. And as I said, it captures why I think Last Blitzkrieg is absolutely fascinating. And yeah, it's as I said, captures the aspects of gaming that I most enjoy. Studying those road networks, thinking about possibilities and options. It's not just a case of moving up, rolling dice, attacking. It's a case of sort of planning and stringing together this series of activities, which I find very enjoyable. Alright folks, I'll wrap it up here, and yeah, thanks for watching.